All right. Chris Middleton here. It is Wednesday, September 11th. I'm going to tee up my screen share here, get the webinar up, content up, give people a chance to filter in. We are recording this. This will be posted in our group, our free group that we have launched on our tax strategy community on the school platform. That's SKOOL. So that will be live. We'll upload it to YouTube first and then put the link in there for the school group. So if you're attending live, thank you for being here. If this is something that you're going to watch as a later date, this will be in the school group. All right, let me get this. Technology, when it works, is a beautiful thing. Make sure this is up and live. And we're going to do that. Sweet. So welcome to the monthly tax strategy focus webinar. Before we begin, it is September 11th, and in honor of those who lost their lives and gave their lives, I'd like to have just a brief moment of silence. So join me with that. All right. It's important to recognize and remember, where we've been, what's going on in the world. We live in wonky times, is what I always say. Live in wonky times, but I'm grateful for the times that we live in and grateful that you're here spending a little bit of time with us today. So again, we're welcoming you to the monthly tax strategy focus webinar. And what that means is we're focusing in on a couple of things that you should be thinking of right now. So how do we help you right now optimize your taxes? I despise the term year-end tax planning. Yay, let's procrastinate and rush and get everything done at the last minute and then end up not accomplishing everything that we need to because haste makes waste. So today we're going to be diving into something called the disabled access tax credit as the first topic. And what's on the docket for that is we're going to talk about what this is, who qualifies, why is this important, how do you capture the credit, record keeping, and then avoiding some pitfalls in implementation. But before we begin, I always like to start every presentation I give with this concept. Humbly, we submit to you, we believe that the accounting model is broken. And why is it broken? Well, this is a visual representation of the taxpayer roadmap, right? This was put out by the IRS, and I say, if that's a roadmap, where the heck's the GPS? Because that looks like a rat's nest. Well, what I've come to realize over my life as a business owner and entrepreneur is systems are vital in business. We need and operate on systems in our lives, families, business, personal, all those, like, the systems are what make things run. And we see examples of the government system in the headlines where companies are taking advantage of, you know, politicians, billionaires, corporations paying little to nothing in taxes. Well, and the government, their system to take our taxes is under expansion, right? They're expanding budget, employee headcount, replacing people that are retiring. And as a result, audits are on the rise. They are looking at more and more business owners to say, how can we get your money? Well, the struggle as a business owner, I was just talking to my business partner about this, when you give a busy business owner another to do or something to do, it's like, oh man, they lack the time, energy, and desire, right? It all comes down to those three things: time, energy, and desire to do something about it. And most busy business owners kind of put their head in the sand and they're like, hey, my CPA has me covered, right? The reality is this: most CPAs don't have you covered. Not to knock them. I was this person for a long time. Most CPAs or accountants are what I would call happy historians. That means they're simply taking your information, putting the right numbers in the right boxes and not doing much in the way of being proactive. The proactivity, the tax strategy and planning, that's a different skill set than the tax preparation. Don't get me wrong, the tax prep is important and you want to put the right numbers in the right boxes. But what do you do to change your fact pattern and say, oh, let's do this instead of that? Well, ultimately, if you're not working with somebody in a proactive way, the results are taxes weighing you down as you fight this daily battle. I despise the term small business. There's nothing small about being in business. You're climbing this hill and this mountain every day. And I commend those that are in the trenches as an entrepreneur doing that work, right? Well, taxes are just another drain on our resources. So, what we came up with is a system. You can fight back legitimately with a system to reduce your taxes by 30, 50% or more. We've seen cases up to 79% reduction in tax bills without the fear of audit or jail time. And how we accomplish that is through this little gem right here. We have what we call the Clear Edge Framework that stands for is credit optimization. That's what we're going to dive into today. Legal structure optimization, employees, how you find, reward, and retain employees through the tax code, accumulation of wealth and retirement planning, exit planning, deduction optimization, getting organized. I just finished writing a blog post that's going to be going up about getting organized and the value of bookkeeping. And the goal is at the end of the day is you obtain a level of efficiency that you've never achieved before. And that's the objective, is to get to a state of efficiency to pay less to the government legitimately. Our presentation today is not legal or tax advice. It's general information and broad in scope. Legal and tax advice is when you sit down with a qualified professional and say, hey, here's my stuff, and here's getting advice that's specific to you, right? So for what that's worth, let's dive in and give you some of the education. So again, the introduction to the Disabled Access Tax Credit. What is this? Well, the Disabled Access Tax Credit is tied to the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, which became law in 1990, but then was updated in 2008. Well, along with the updates in 2008, the physical space, right? Wheelchair ramps, accessibility to bathrooms, all that stuff. There also is an expansion in 2008 to the virtual space. A lot of people don't know this, that their website, their marketing, their emails, the things that they push out to the world for marketing and attention should be ADA compliant. How do you make stuff ADA compliant, right? On the online colorblind, if you're colorblind or hearing impaired, and you have text to voice or voice to text, those capabilities. So there's a variety of things that make your virtual space ADA compliant. Why does this matter? You're like, hey, Chris, you're talking about taxes, so why are we talking about websites and ADA, stuff? Well, there's a tax credit if you invest in ADA compliance. So a credit, just a quick example of this, a credit on the left versus right, the deduction is on the left. So if we say, okay, we're going to have $100,000 of income and we deduct 25,000, well, that just means we took 25,000 off of our income, right? So now we're taxed on 75,000. Well, assuming, I wish, but assuming a flat tax rate, you would have a total tax of $7,500. If you had 100 grand without that deduction, you'd have a tax bill of $10,000. So we like our deductions, right? We like our write-offs and our deductions. But on the right-hand side, we see a credit example. So in the case where we have income of 100 grand, expenses are $20,000. So less in expenses, we have taxable income of $80,000. Again, assuming a 10% tax rate. Our total tax bill is $8,000, but then we have a credit. Oh, a credit for $5,000 that acts as a payment towards our tax bill. So at the end of the day, the person who has the credit, less of a deduction, more of a credit, actually pays less in taxes. So we like tax credits because tax credits end up, in this case, giving $4,500 less to the government. The government gave us a credit that we could use. And ultimately, a credit is a dollar for dollar reduction of tax. Credits are good. So when it comes to disabled access tax credit or ADA compliance, what does that mean? Okay, so we could potentially get a credit. Cool. Well, let's look at first who qualifies for this, right? The people that qualify for this are, it's an either or test. In a lot of tax stuff, there's an and test. You have to meet all three of factors or all two, right? Or both factors. In this case, it's an or test. So you have to have a business that has 1 million or less in gross income. That's total top line revenue. Or you have to have less than 30 full-time equivalent employees. So I'm sorry if you're Amazon or Google, right? Large companies that have thousands of employees and billions of dollars in revenue. This isn't for you. But there's a lot of business owners in America that are over $1 million in gross revenue, but maybe have 10, 15, 20 employees, or maybe one employee. You might be the only employee. So that's the test. If you are one of those companies that is either 1 million in gross revenue or less, or you have less than 30 full-time equivalent employees. What the definition of full-time equivalent employee, we actually have a playbook that kind of covers some of the details on this. So stick around, we'll give you some more detail on how to get that here in a few minutes. So the steps to capture the credit, so you identify, okay, am I eligible? Cool. You've identified that, check the box, move forward, choose your own adventure, right? We're going to the next step. So the next question is, have we invested anything in improvements? So our playbook, we go through a methodology of, auditing your spaces, your physical space, your virtual space, and saying, okay, have I done anything ADA compliance to my office or to my website or my marketing efforts? So have you invested in improvement? And this can be an improvement that you can reinvest in as you invest in improvements year over year, right? Things need to be improved and then maintained. So that's the magic of this, is identifying where have you made improvements or where are you investing in maintenance. So let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a tale of two businesses. True story. I gave this presentation years ago, and Wendy and Barry approached me after the fact and said, "Hey, we're in the process of going to be updating our website, right? So they are asking questions. How do we make our website ADA compliant?" Again, I put that information in the playbook. You want to ask certain questions of your web developer. I'm not a web person. I hate that stuff. I have amazing people that do that for us. And I love them and appreciate them because that's not my jam. That's not my sandbox. But I told them, here's the things that you want to ask those people to ensure that what they're doing and producing for you is ADA compliant. So Wendy, ultimately, she kind of went the path, and I followed up with both these folks. Wendy kind of went the path where she said, I'm going to create a website, but I don't want to invest in and do the ADA compliance step, right? She just didn't make that investment. Barry was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to do that. So Wendy didn't invest in the ADA compliant website or marketing system. She spent $3,500. This was a few years ago. So, today that'd probably be around $7,000, right? But ultimately, she didn't make her stuff eligible. She didn't capture that disabled access tax credit. Well, Barry, he did invest in ADA compliance services. He made sure that the invoice coming from his web developer was ADA compliant website creation and improvement, etc. And so he captured a tax credit of $2,875. So his net cost was actually less than Wendy's. He paid, a little bit less than Wendy did. So the other benefits of ADA compliance, right, are ADA compliance uh, helps reduce your lawsuit risk. So Wendy did not see, she had an increase frivolous. Somebody could go on her website and say, hey, you're not, complying with ADA, and sue her. So it increases your lawsuit risk, whereas Barry saw a reduction in his lawsuit risk potentially. Um, Another thing that I learned about this was SEO. When my understanding is when you create a website that is ADA compliant, you get a little bit of an organic bump in your search engine optimization. Okay, so people are looking for you, and you're gonna see a slight raise in the rankings. Every little bit helps. It's a competitive world. So I like that. And on top of that, you get a credit to reduce your overall investment in those services or things that you're investing in that are ADA compliant. So there's some upside to that. So I'm going to quote Adam Sand. I'd say used to say Ryan Reynolds was my favorite Canadian, and then I met Adam Sand, and he quickly became my favorite Canadian. Amazing guy. Roofing business partner is his business, and he said there's no substitute for the hard, boring work. So I kind of put this meme out there with Jack Sparrow running from the IRS or running from the natives that he was running away from in that movie, right? But that doesn't need to be us, right? If we want to capture the credit, we can do so legitimately, but you got to do the work. You actually got to do the improvements and do the due diligence to make sure that you are investing in ADA compliance and doing that. So talking about audits, right? If you were to get questioned, one of the ways to obviously one do the work, implement ADA compliance in your business and segregate out, okay, if I spent the example I spent with gave with Barry, where he spent 6 grand, that was actually the portion that we determined was allocable towards his ADA investment. He spent a little bit more than that on other things, but that was what we were able to capture there. And he was already spending that money, right? So don't run out and say, "Oh, I'm going to spend money and to capture a tax credit." No, make sure that you're doing that for a legitimate bona fide reason. And then if you follow the steps in the playbook that we're going to provide to you, making sure that your vendor that is fulfilling those services for you gives you invoices that say, hey, ADA compliance services and investment in. And then, ask them, hey, what are you doing to make sure that my stuff is ADA? Like, take notes and understand what is the functions that's being done here. And then at the end of the day, don't be greedy. Don't say, oh, 100% of what I spend is ADA compliance. No, let's find out, determine with the help of the professional performing services, what portion of their bill should be allocated towards the ADA improvement. So I took this from an old business coach I had, Mr. Chuck Bauer. He said, welcome to fabulous vagueness. What starts in ambiguity stays in ambiguity, right? So at the end of the day, this is great. You learned something. I hope you learned something today. I'll check the comments, see if there's any questions here in a moment, but hopefully you learned something today. So learning something is great, but it means nothing unless you execute, unless you do something with this. So if you like this, and if you're say like, oh my gosh, this is great, I want this. So ADA, maketaxesfair.com/ADA hyphen or yeah, hyphen compliance. So ADA compliance at maketaxesfair.com. That's where you can go to get the playbook. You can get a replay of this kind of presentation just based on the that one topic alone. And if you find that this is useful as part of our Make Taxes Fair focus system, we invite you to share this with your friends. Friends don't let friends overpay the government. So I'm going to check the comments. Give me just a second here. Let me find where those are. Here we go. Any comments, questions? I'm not seeing anything jumping out. No worries. Perfect. All right. Well, let's plow forward then. I'm going to go ahead and um, track. Let's see. Oh, we do have a question coming through. I'm on track to make about 72,000 this year as a freelance copywriter. I made about 56 and last year and paid about 14, a little over 14 in taxes. Feel like I should have paid way less. My income level, would it make sense to hire a tax strategist for this upcoming tax year to pay legally as little as possible? So that is a fabulous question, and I hope to answer that. Let's circle back on that. I'm going to say I answer that live, and let me show you how we help people in this way. So by the end of this, you should see an answer to that question. So with our tax strategy the savings foundation, we have our roadmap for a clear edge, right? We just hit the first, which is credit optimization. Legal structure can impact for the folks who just threw out that question. Legal structure can also have a heavy impact on how you're taxed, right? So some of those taxes may be in the form of Social Security, Medicare, because you might be operating as a sole proprietor. So does it make sense to flip that switch and turn that over? Maybe. Um, Probably not in a place where employees make sense, but maybe there's some retirement savings, accumulation of wealth, and retirement planning that could have taken place. So bottom line, when we walk people through these framework, this is an example. This is a real example. I stole this right from a presentation we gave to a client. We found in every category, they were in a state taxes where they had income tax in their state, but we found in every category except for the exit planning, which that's common. A lot of businesses are, hey, I'm in growth mode. I'm growing my business and I want to make sure that I I'm growing things legitimately to fund my lifestyle, right? They're not in a place where they're exiting. But this person, we found $64,209 in tax savings. Pretty amazing. Well, that was we did that through the framework, and we showed them, credits, how a tax credit is a dollar for dollar reduction of your taxes to optimize your taxes, and that's a really powerful tax reduction tool. In their case, we found one. Just worked with somebody where we found three different credits. And then I talked to a current client of ours who we helped them find, oh, we did the quarterly touch point, and we're like, oh, well, if you're in this place, you're going to be hiring somebody, be aware of this credit for hiring people. So when we help people in our process, we give them education like we just did about the disabled access tax credit. We provide resources. So this is an example. You're going to see an example of that resource with the playbook. Well, legal structure, we go through and say, okay, how does your legal structure impact your taxes, right? Well, when S corporations, if you have an LLC or a C corporation, just a caveat, we do have a resource on, should you be an S corp or not, but some industries and based on with the state that you're in, you may not be allowed. I'm just going to say realtors or real estate agents are in the state of California. The Department of Real Estate really doesn't like you to be an LLC. They let people do it, but according to their own rules internally at the DRE, they shouldn't be letting people do that. So they really want people to be a C corporation and then make the S corp election. That's a legal conversation. Why that is, I don't know. Um, I foresee a day when the California Department of Real Estate is like, hey, everybody, it's an LLC. We're gonna ding you or make you switch it over and do some different things. That could potentially be coming down the pipe. So understanding one, is your legal framework, are you allowed to be an LLC or should you be a C corp? And then should you or when should you make that S corp election? That's critical. And then understanding, okay, how do I pay myself as a salary versus an owner draw? That's one of the critical conversations with an S corp owner. Corporate compliance is another one. We're understanding like how, if I form a corporation, how do I maintain corporate compliance for my business to protect my entity? So we provide some resources around, those types of things in the legal framework. Employees, right? How do you find, retain, and reward employees through the tax code? The ones that we love are, hiring kids or family, like keep the money in house. Why would you do that? How is it vital, and how do you execute on that? Another couple of examples are employee reward systems, right? Implementing fringe benefits that are tax-free to the employees. There are pitfalls to avoid there if you're an S corporation. Are there um, fringe benefits that you cannot offer to the S corp owners? Yes. Are there fringe benefits that you can? Yes. So you have to be wary of that. Establishing a board of directors, if you have an LLC or a corporation, what is that? How do you do that? So we have playbooks and resources around those. A lot of these playbooks, folks, that I'm pointing out are in our maketaxesfair.com resource center. If you go there, uh, we're giving them away. Hey, here's how we can help you. Accumulation of wealth and retirement planning, right? Building wealth in a tax advantage way and planning. I don't like retirement planning. I say future planning is really critical. So setting up that retirement plan for your future to secure that financial future is key. HSAs, right? How do you optimize and save money for the future through medical plans, those types of things. Those are some of the things that we consider in that framework or a pillar in the framework. Exit planning, right? And making sure that you're exiting your business. You can exit either business, crypto, and people are like, I don't have any gains in crypto. That's been a while, but if you have stuff that you have bought, properties, businesses, things like that that are have appreciated in value, there's a way that you can exit those in a lot of ways without Uncle Sam taking a huge tax bite, right? Deduction optimization. This is a really critical one because a lot of people don't fully write off all the things that they should be. So if you're an LLC or a corporation, establishing an accountable plan, utilizing the Augusta rule. A lot of people have heard of that, but don't know what that is, or they're like, oh, I know what that is, but they haven't done it, right? That's where we help people take action. So all these things, right, as you can see here, with this person, their legal structure gave them the pillar under legal structure gave them a little over 16 grand in tax savings. Accumulation of wealth gave another over 16 grand, and then the deductions gave them a little over 14 for combined savings of $64,000 a year. Well, over 10 years, assuming no growth on that money and also no increase in taxes, I mean, that's over $500,000, approaching the $750,000 mark over 10 years, right? That's pretty impressive. You can do better things with your money than the government can. So how we work with folks is we create, in the process of creating a custom tax strategy roadmap, we assess your information, we build a tax plan, and we deliver that to you. And then, should you choose to move forward with us in a ongoing monthly services to maintain your tax strategies, that's a separate engagement. So we actually create on the tax strategy roadmap, we create for you a custom tax strategy roadmap. These are some examples of what we do on the proactive preservation of your tax savings, right? Annually, we stop, file your tax returns. We conduct a how audit proof are you analysis. We have a set the table for the year meeting in January, and then we give you an annual tax strategy refresh. Quarterly, we slow down. We have quarterly touch points, like I mentioned. We have something called the CEO Club, where we give advanced tax and business strategies. And on a monthly basis, we're delivering stuff like this with the tax strategy focus system newsletter and open office hour like we're doing here. We have a library of tax strategy resources. And for our clients, we offer a 1 hour, 1 hour a month, one-to-one call. Business strategy. Hey, I'm thinking about starting a new business. We offer that, as well as audit monitoring. So a lot of folks and today, we introduced the Clear Edge framework and kind of showed you a little bit of the tax strategy roadmap process where we help people create that. Future webinars on the monthly tax strategy focus system are going to be, we will introduce the tax strategy roadmap, but we'll be giving 2 tax strategies per webinar. But if this kind of left you like the question of, should I engage with somebody to pay as little as legally possible? Well, it's all about framing the lens through which you look, right? How do you view the world? Systems are vital. Revenue creation, marketing, that person who gave that question, great question. You're a copywriter, so you're helping people on the revenue generation side to put systems into place to attract and find people. So business owners I found like to plan, like to put together business plans, operations, strategic plans, but Very rarely do we encounter folks that have a tax plan, or better yet, a custom tax strategy roadmap. And if I had to venture a guess, I'd say you probably don't have that. So again, how we do that is we build a plan through assessing your information. You give us information in the process of providing us your tax returns, providing us your profit and loss. So you have to be organized to be able to figure out where you are at income wise currently. That will give us the ability to then build your tax plan and then deliver that to you. George, when we delivered his tax plan, so he paid us for a tax strategy roadmap, and he's like, wow, this is exactly what I was asking my prior accountant for and wasn't getting from them, right? In George's case, he was paying, we were able to identify $35,000 in tax savings for a 54% reduction in his tax bill. Pretty huge. Nathan, he said, it was a game changer having a tax strategy system in place. I feel more control now and have gone from 0 to 100 as far as confidence and being on track when it comes to my taxes. For Nathan, we helped him save almost 20 grand, which was a reduction of a little over 76% in his tax bill. So if any of this resonates with you, we invite you to check out the maketaxesfair.com/get-my roadmap. So get-my-roadmap. That's where you'll be able to look and see, what it is to work with us. We guarantee if you decide to engage with us on a tax strategy roadmap, we guarantee an ROI. So we guarantee you a 5 times return on your investment, where we will identify for you a minimum of 5 times tax savings of what you invest in our service. Otherwise, we refund you the money and say, here you go, here's the money back, and you keep the tax strategy roadmap. So at the end of the day, we're here to help people find ways to save money. We like to say, friends, don't let friends overpay the government. So that's what we invite you to do, is to check that out. I am going to take any other questions here. So we have another question is there a formula to capture the ADA tax credit, or the disabled access tax credit? So is there a formula to calculate that? I would say no. You have to be reasonable in identifying, and in the playbook that we provide, we give kind of some questions you really need to be asking. The the framework would be to go through an audit and say, okay, where am I spending money in my virtual space, in my physical space? And I have a website. Like, I see a lot of realtors, they have a realtor.com, they might have a Zillow presence. So, identify their association of realtors has a website or a web presence for them. So maybe you can take 10% of your association of realtors fees and say, okay, portion of that is tech related, helping me push myself out online. A portion of my, if I'm paying anything for marketing efforts on an ongoing basis for systems that push out newsletters, right? Those types of things. So audit where you're pushing money out, or to push yourself out into the world. And then from there, ask the professionals, hey, out of the money that I'm spending on your services, marketing or whatnot, if you're doing a physical remodel of any space, right? Ask the contractor to segregate out the costs of that wheelchair ramp. Ask the web person, hey, what is the investment or portion of your bill that's related to disabled access tax credit? There's more information in that playbook. So if you go to the maketaxesfair.com/ADA compliance, that's where you can go to get that playbook. I encourage you to grab that there. Great question. All right. Yep. So grab the maketaxesfair.com/get-my roadmap. You can check that out. We have experience working actually with marketing agencies, copywriters, so folks that are doing the copyright. We service a lot of real estate professionals, a lot in the construction, roofing, HVAC, gutters, industries, consultants. We love working with people that are, realtors typically don't have a lot of high overhead costs, right? You're selling your time, you have some marketing fees and stuff and mileage and stuff, but you're selling your time. And consultants, copywriters, consultants, business. We have a gentleman who helps people buy and sell businesses, right? He's selling his time, he's selling his gray matter. He doesn't have a lot of high overhead. And so those are high profit margin businesses because you're trading time for money. You don't have a lot of hard costs. Those are the folks I think that benefit the most from in the Clear Edge framework, from the pillars of, let's get back to that. Sorry. Those kind of folks benefit the most from legal structure, accumulation of wealth and retirement planning, as well as the deduction optimization, because they're solopreneurs effectively, not really, having any high overhead or high costs. So great questions, great questions. Any other questions? Hopefully this is beneficial. I did want to go and let you folks in on we have our community that I mentioned. Let me get that up here and live. So that is the tax strategy focus system. So if you go to skool.com, skool.com/tax strategy focus system. Yay for web stuff. That's why I don't do that stuff. But at the end of the day, the tax strategy focus system is powered by Make Taxes Fair. We're growing that. It's free at the moment, and you can jump in there on that and join our free community. And this, like I said, this webinar and future webinars will be shared to that platform. At the moment, it's free. There will be a paid version that will be coming live soon with other goodies and other things in there as well. But I invite you to check that out. Great questions. We are approaching the year end, and so tax planning season is upon us effectively. People are looking for ways to save money on taxes. So the fact that you're here and investing in yourself, we appreciate that, value that. Would invite you to check us out. Check out our resource center, maketaxesfair.com/ or not just to maketaxesfair.com, and up at the top it's under resources, so you can check out our resource center. And friends don't let friends overpay the government, and that's why we're put together playbooks, resources. We recognize everybody's kind of building their business at different levels, and so we're here to serve and provide as much value as we can. And if you get to a point where you're like, hey, I could really use some help and the professional guidance of somebody, we're here to help. So that's it. Again, it is September 11th, and so be mindful as you go out in the world. At the beginning of this, we kind of gave a moment of silence, but I would encourage you to be mindful as you go out into the world. Tell the people that you love them. Show them that you love them. Be mindful about how you interact with others, because the world needs and deserves the best version of each and every one of us to show up and be good in the world. So appreciate all you for being here, and sign up at maketaxesfair.com/system. You'll be getting notifications of newsletters and these webinar announcements as we launch them and do these and others. So thanks for being here. Great questions. And I always say, if you can't be good, be careful. Bye for now.